Message came like an unexpected knock at the door of Judy's carefully guarded heart. She was lying on her bed after a long day, scrolling absent-mindedly through her phone, when the notification popped up. At first glance the words looked messy, misspellings, short forms, no punctuation, but the raw honesty in them made her sit up straight. "Hey Thea, op you doing okay? I know you won't reply my message cause you still do hate me so much cause I saw it THT day when our eyes met. Truth is THT I still do love you so much with all my heart and no single day passes without me THNking. Apt you am not trying to flirt you so THT you we can be together again. BT what I'm saying is I still do love you so much Judy. PLZ give me a chance to explain myself and DNT, let anger control you." Her chest tightened as she read the words again. She hadn't expected to hear from him again, at least not like this. It had been almost a year since they had parted ways, leaving behind a trail of unspoken words, pride and hurt. And now here he was, reaching across the silence with a message that felt clumsy but heartbreakingly genuine. Judy closed her eyes, clutching the phone to her chest. Memories, sharp and tender, came rushing back. She remembered the way he used to smile when she teased him, that crooked grin that always softened her mood no matter how bad her day had been. She remembered their walks together in the quiet evenings, hands brushing, laughter echoing under the dim streetlights. She remembered their arguments too, the ones that left her crying into her pillow, wondering if love was supposed to hurt this much. And then came that final fight, the one that built a wall between them. She had accused him of not caring, of pulling away when she needed him most. He, too proud and too stubborn, had walked out instead of answering with honesty. That night had been the end, or so she thought. But now his words stared back at her, burning through the quiet of her room. Judy wanted to ignore him. She wanted to believe she had moved on, that her heart was safe in the little box she had locked it away in. But something about the vulnerability in his message tugged at her. He wasn't asking for forgiveness, not directly. He was begging for a chance to explain, to lay bare the truths he hadn't shared before. She sighed, tossing the phone beside her. Her mind spun in circles. Did people really change, or was she just setting herself up for heartbreak all over again? Hours passed and still she couldn't sleep. Finally, as dawn began to lighten the curtains, she picked up the phone again. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard before she typed a simple reply. "I got your message. Tell me what it is you want to explain." No warmth, no promises, just a door cracked slightly open. His reply came faster than she expected. It was as if he had been waiting by his phone all night. "I don't have a child with anyone, and if it were to be a father in W, I would love you to be the mother of my kids. I'm not perfect such, BTPLZ give me a chance to explain myself. I lost her number when my phone got lost January. PLZ TXT me if it's only okay with you cause I really do need to talk to you Judy PLZ I beg you." Judy exhaled slowly. His words were rough, imperfect but sincere. She could almost hear his voice in her head, stammering, searching for the right words. For the rest of the day she couldn't focus on anything else. She went to work, smiled at her colleagues, answered emails, but her heart was elsewhere. When she returned home in the evening, she opened their old photo folder, something she hadn't dared to do in months. There they were, frozen in moments of happiness. The beach trip where he had chased her into the water, the blurry selfie in the cafe where they had spent hours talking, the birthday cake he had baked clumsily, frosting smeared across his nose. She laughed through the tears that slipped down her cheeks. She had loved him deeply once. She wasn't sure if that love had died or if it had only been buried under layers of hurt. That night she texted him again. "If you want me to listen, then don't waste my time with excuses. Tell me the truth, all of it." The next day they met. Judy chose a small cafe halfway between her office and his neighborhood. It was neutral ground, a place that didn't hold the shadows of their past. She arrived early, sitting near the window, her nerves twisted tight. Every time the door opened, her heart jumped. And then he walked in. He looked the same but also different. His hair was shorter, his shirt neatly pressed. There was a nervous energy about him as his eyes scanned the room until they found hers. For a moment their gazes locked, and Judy felt that familiar ache in her chest. "Judy," he said softly when he reached her table. His voice cracked, as if the word itself was too heavy. "Sit," she replied, her tone steady though her heart was racing. They ordered coffee, though neither touched it. He fidgeted with his hands, trying to gather his thoughts. "I don't know how to start," he admitted finally. "I messed up, I hurt you. I thought walking away was easier than telling you what I was going through, but not a single day has passed without me thinking about you. Judy looked at him, her face unreadable. Then why now, why after all this time? He swallowed. Because I couldn't keep lying to myself. I tried to move on, Judy. I tried to pretend I didn't need you. But I failed. You're in everything. Every song, every street we walked on together, every night when I can't sleep, you're there. She wanted to stay angry. She wanted to remind him of the nights she had cried herself to sleep, of the loneliness she had endured. But instead, what rose in her was the memory of how it felt to be loved by him, truly loved. I don't know if I can trust you again, she whispered. His eyes glistened. I don't expect you to, not yet. All I'm asking for is a chance to prove it. Let me show you I've changed, not with words but with actions. Please, Judy. Silence hung between them. The noise of the cafe faded into the background as Judy studied his face, the sincerity in his eyes, the trembling of his hands. And against the caution screaming in her mind, she felt her heart soften. All right, she said finally, one chance but no more lies. His relief was palpable, his shoulders sagging as if he had been carrying the weight of the world. No more lies, he promised. Over the next few weeks, they began to see each other again. Carefully, cautiously, like two people learning to walk after being broken. He kept his word. He didn't shower her with grand gestures or empty promises. Instead, he showed up. He listened when she spoke, admitted when he was wrong, and didn't shy away from hard conversations. One evening, as they walked by the park where they had once spent hours talking under the stars, he stopped suddenly. I have to admit it, he said, turning to her. His voice shook. But his eyes held steady. I really do miss the girl I fell in love with. That's you. You're always on my mind, no matter how hard I try not to think of you. Judy's heart clenched. Hearing him say it aloud made her feel both vulnerable and cherished. She looked at him, really looked at him, and realized that this wasn't the boy who had walked away before. This was a man willing to fight for her, even if it meant admitting his deepest regrets. And for the first time in a long while, Judy allowed herself to hope days that followed unfolded with a delicate rhythm, like a song being replayed but with a softer, more intentional melody. Judy and Daniel, the man who had once broken her heart and now was desperately trying to piece it back together, fell into a pattern that felt both familiar and new. At first, Judy kept her guard up. She answered his texts, but her replies were cautious. She met him for coffee, but she always made sure they were in public places where she could leave easily if things turned sour. And yet, each time they met, she felt the cracks in her walls widening just a little. Daniel wasn't the same as before. His arrogance had melted into humility, his indifference replaced by attentiveness. He asked about her day, not out of politeness, but with genuine interest. He remembered the little things she mentioned, her dislike for sugar in tea, her habit of carrying a notebook everywhere, the way she hummed absent-mindedly when she was nervous. One rainy evening, as they sat under the shelter of a bus stop, waiting for the storm to pass, he reached for her hand. Judy hesitated, her instinct urging her to pull away, but something in his touch was different, steady, warm, patient. I know I don't deserve this, Daniel murmured, watching the rain streak down the glass, but holding your hand again feels like home. Judy's heart twisted. She didn't reply, but she didn't let go either. Weeks turned into months. Their connection deepened in ways Judy hadn't thought possible. One Saturday, he surprised her with a visit to the old library where they had first studied together years ago. The wooden tables were scratched with initials, the air thick with the smell of old pages. Do you remember this place? He asked, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Judy smiled despite herself. Of course, you pretended to be so serious about studying, but you kept slipping me notes. He chuckled, and you kept shushing me like a teacher. The memory warmed her, pulling her back into a time when love had been easy and unburdened. They sat together at their old corner table, and for the first time in a long while, Judy allowed herself to laugh freely with him. When they left, he walked her home, stopping at the gate with a hesitant expression. Judy, he said softly, I don't want to rush you, but I need you to know, loving you is the only thing I've ever been sure about. Her breath caught. She wanted to believe him, to dive headfirst into the love that still lingered between them. But the scars of the past whispered caution. Don't say that unless you mean it, she warned. I've never meant anything more, he replied. The turning point came one evening when Judy fell ill. It wasn't anything serious, just a stubborn flu that left her weak and restless. She hadn't told Daniel, not wanting to seem vulnerable, but somehow he found out. She woke from a nap to find him in her kitchen, awkwardly attempting to cook soup. The pot was steaming over, and he was frantically waving a towel at the smoke. "What on earth are you doing?" Judy croaked, her voice hoarse. He turned, cheeks flushed. "You're sick, I wanted to take care of you." Despite the chaos, Judy's heart melted. No man had ever shown up for her like this, not in the small, unglamorous moments. He sat by her bed, feeding her spoonfuls of soup, making her laugh even when her body ached. That night, as he held her hand while she drifted back to sleep, Judy realized she wasn't just falling for him again, she was falling for the version of him she had always hoped he could be. Still, healing wasn't linear. There were nights when Judy woke from dreams of their old fights, her heart pounding with remembered anger. There were moments when Daniel said something carelessly, and she recoiled, fearing history would repeat itself. But instead of walking away, he stayed. He apologized when he needed to, explained when he could, and listened always. One evening, as they walked through the quiet park, Daniel stopped suddenly. "Judy," he said, his voice steady but his eyes vulnerable. "I know I can't erase the pain I caused, but I want to build something new with you, something stronger. Not the love we had before, but the love we can have now. Will you let me?" Her heart pounded. For weeks she had wrestled with her doubts, torn between fear and longing, but looking at him now she saw the truth in his eyes. He wasn't the same man who had walked away before. He was someone who had learned, someone willing to fight for her, someone who saw her not as an option but as his home. "Yes," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "Yes, I'll let you." From that night on, their love blossomed with a new kind of fire, gentle yet fierce, fragile yet unbreakable. They were no longer two young lovers fumbling through passion. They were two souls who had walked through pain and chosen each other anyway. Their kisses were deeper, filled with gratitude for second chances. Their laughter was louder, echoing with the relief of healing. Their silences were comfortable, no longer heavy with unspoken words, but alive with the safety of knowing they didn't need to say everything to be understood. On a quiet Sunday morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, Daniel pulled Judy into his arms. His voice was soft against her ear. "I used to be afraid of love," he confessed. "Afraid of failing, of not being enough, but with you I've learned that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other again and again." Judy smiled, her heart swelling. "And I choose you," she whispered, "not because you're perfect, but because you're mine." Their lips met in a kiss that sealed not just their reunion, but the promise of a love stronger than the storms they had weathered. Months later, Judy found herself standing in front of the mirror, adjusting the delicate bracelet Daniel had given her. They were heading out to celebrate their anniversary, not the one from years ago, but the new one, the day she had chosen to give him another chance. As she looked at her reflection, Judy realized something profound. Love wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about building a future that made the past worth surviving. When Daniel arrived to pick her up, flowers in hand and that familiar nervous grin on his face, Judy's heart leapt. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't afraid. She was in love, truly, deeply, irrevocably. And this time she knew, so was he.